My radio station, your radio station, our radio station. 91.3 FM and 95.8 FM stereo.
Assalamu alaikum and indeed a warm welcome to the 10am Express. I'm just Ayesha Laatoe on this beautiful Tuesday morning, and to be speaking about Ayesha, the new boss in town. So who's the new boss in town? Is it you or is it me? But we have a special guest with us, a very first debut, should I say, interview, not just on Voice of the Cape, but first radio interview ever. It's Alexia Cox, who is, has a PhD from Stellenbosch University and owner of the Merging Minds. And I must tell you, I'm not going to read everything with regards to a biography, but the one that she's quickly becoming known for is the HR disruptor, with a passion for the future of HR and loves writing articles about it. That is Alexia Cox. Alexia, good morning to you, and thanks so much for being with us in studio.
Good morning, and thank you so much for having me.
You're most welcome. When we speak about HR, we often speak about sometimes in many corporate companies, it's a bit of miss as well. Sometimes it's not there, unfortunately. And here we speak about HR, the new boss in town, which means making it easier for smaller companies also to acquire the, should we say, the not just the department, if not possible, but at least the skill of doing HR, like you would say, in the future.
Yes, definitely. I definitely agree a lot with what you're saying. And it all is about planning for the future, but it's also about changing your mindset. In the HR field, we have been working a long time in processes and procedures and policies, and a lot to do with compliance. But the future is seeing a change in that, and there's a demand for more strategic HR. The question that arises, though, is what does strategic actually mean?
Okay.
And that is probably the one thing that is stumping HR at the moment. So you might see, when you see the advertisements for HR, the new boss in town, you'll see technology is disrupting the way that we're working. And it is, and it's fantastic. But there's a bit of a negative side to it as well, is what are we going to do? What does it mean to be strategic? What does it mean? What does this impact all these new technologies have on the way that we're going to work in the future?
I'm just a bit worried here. Does it mean technology is going to take over the position of human?
The human will never be taken over. You don't need to worry about that at all.
Because I think many times people are worried about that, thinking that, if they're going to implement this technology-wise, that means we're going to become redundant, and what's going to happen to my service that I've been providing over the years?
I think that's probably a very big worry that lots of HR professionals have, especially those that work in the sort of transactional side of HR.
Yes.
But there's not to worry. There will always be transactional HR. However, it might not necessarily be the way that we see it today and the way that it is today. I really 100% believe that the future will see transactional HR functioning outside of the business, and that the HR role will take a much more of an internal business consultant position, much more strategic, much more advisory, and much more in terms of business bottom lines.
Okay, so let's come to the question. You've designed a workshop as well. So who's this workshop designed for? And also, how will it benefit the company, whether it's a small or big company?
So the workshop is designed for anybody who works in HR or who has a function that deals with HR issues. So it deals, it's quite an open, it's open to lots of HR professionals or people dealing with people, and we are looking sort of to change the way that people see HR. So the mindset is a big thing. So for smaller companies, what we're really looking to do for HR is sort of streamline it, make it more focused and simplifying HR so that it steps away from that compliance and those policies and those procedures and really drives bottom line initiatives so that all HR initiatives that are implemented in the business are going to have an impact on profits and revenues.
Alexia, you mentioned mindset, which is very important because not many people are open to change. And unfortunately, if one looks at technology, you need to change.
Yes.
The need is there.
Definitely, yes. There's a big need for it, and technology is fantastic. It is really, really fantastic, especially technology that has been designed with people in mind. So when we're looking at technology in the future, from a HR perspective, we need simple technologies that we can use, that our people can also use effectively and know how to use, that drives autonomy, that drives engagement, that drives motivation. And at the same time, next to that technology that's going to help HR professionals do their job, they'll be able to focus on much more sort of the outsourcing, the decluttering, the future thinking of the way an organization can work. So those initiatives will become a lot more exciting, if I can put it that way. Yeah.
Okay, so what happens in the business space where you go to the HR department and you want to see somebody personally? Is this going to elevate that personal connection with somebody, with a consultant, so you can dial up or you can do it via technology nowadays to speak to somebody? I'm just curious.
Yeah. I think you definitely will see that. There is that shift already that's happening. So let's take payroll, for example. So if we take payroll, I believe that payroll will be something that is outsourced for. You won't have that. You won't be able to walk up to somebody and say, "Look, I've got a bit of an issue with my pay this month. What's happening? Can you sort it out for me?" You, as an employee, will be able to email somebody. Maybe you've got the intranet and you can click on a button and you can sort out that problem. I think when it comes to that, yes, there definitely will be technology taking over that sort of role. On the back end, there will be people that are still driving that, and those will be HR professionals.
Okay, I was just telling about technician. Now you can check your income on the internet nowadays. There we go. He's a wise man. He knows technology as well. That is why he's sitting there. That is why he's so. Strategic planning, and especially with various companies, big or small, how important is that? And upskilling and getting to know more about the new boss in town.
So strategic planning is vital for an organization, but also for each of the different departments. From a HR perspective, it is not so much completing the strategic plan that is of importance. It is really being bold and being different and driving an initiative that we actually haven't seen before, and shaking it a bit up and then implementing that. And that's what's really important for the new boss in town, especially for those HR individuals that want to add value to their company.
We often find that time is extremely important when it comes to business, and sometimes many time is wasted with consultation. Do you find that this is actually, getting that optimum time from your employer?
They will. The employees will be tired when they leave this session, but they will learn so much, and they will have a new perspective, and they'll go back to the workforce, and they'll be able to look at their companies. They'll be able to look at the ways that they are working and turn around and say, right, we need to make some changes and we need to do it now. Here are some of the quick fixes, and here are some of the long-term changes that will need to be made.
Are there any pros and cons to the change?
Yeah, there's always going to be a con, unfortunately. People don't like change. And I think that's probably one of the hardest things for HR professionals, but people in general. It is that, people don't like change. So that, unfortunately, when we look at the new boss in town, there's a large element of change management that is involved. The pro, we are going to be creating a sustainable HR department that will drive and will reinforce the business and support the business, and HR professionals will get the respect, will get the value that they really deserve.
Alexia, I want to go back to basics here, and here we speak about students still, enrolling at universities or institutions with regards to HR management. Does that mean that, this should be changing from the educational perspective as well?
That's a very big question.
We're looking at the basics, and we can't advance when it's too late, so we need to look at advancement at grassroots level as well.
I definitely agree with that, and it is actually I was actually looking at on the internet the other day at a couple of HR courses, and I was thinking to myself, really? We're still trying to spoon feed this kind of information. By the time that they graduate, the performance management review that you're discussing in your class at the moment is not going to be relevant the moment they hit the workforce. So yes, I do think that education really has to look at a future perspective, and that has to be that element in there. Yes, these are the fundamentals. However, what is that going to look like in the future, and where is the flexibility that lies in it?
I'm looking at the page right in front of me, listeners, and it speaks about human resource activities. So it says here, a human resource manager has several functions in a company. Some of it I'm going to mention, and then we're going to see how that is going to be streamlined. One says determine the needs of the staff, determine to use temporary staff or hire employees to fill these needs, supervise the work, manage employees' relations, unions, and collective bargaining as well. Now that is very important. Here we speak about policies in place as well for companies. So just speak about the few that I've mentioned here, Alexia.
So when we look at hiring employees, there's often quite a tedious process that's involved. It can take months to hire the right candidate. Some of it is justifiable. Some of it is actually a waste of time. Often the interview process, you have 5-page interview documents with questions with so many questions on there that it's almost impossible to sit there and answer and really get to know the candidate. So streamlining that 5-page document to a 5-page document with essential questions and using certain technologies in place to find the right candidate is where that future is going.
Okay, so we're looking at CVs as well with regards to HR too. So your CV, many times people think that you need this 10-page CV too, and you're not going to look at all of those things, unfortunately.
Never. Yeah, so the CV, that's a very interesting question. So what we're seeing at the moment in the market is a shift from sort of, a 10-page CV to no more than a 1-page CV. And now we're starting to see this whole trend of sort of digital CVs with, which tells a complete story. It's like watching a YouTube video and it tells you about your career. So we're seeing a whole different trend. But I think the one thing that often is missing in a CV is where the individual wants to go in the future. Where's their career going to be? And I think that's something that needs to be really incorporated in CVs.
Okay, so the workshop that you've designed, who is it for?
So it is for HR consultants, HR managers, and those who are looking to rethink and reshape their HR strategy.
Okay, so we're looking at the need to gain buy-in from the business, but need support as well. Now that is two things here: buying in and the support. Now we often find that if changes are brought about, is there after service as well?
So when we talk about buy-in, right, which is a big thing, and that's where buy-in actually equals value, right? The question that you're asking is actually much bigger than that. So we actually have to start from an organizational structure perspective. So we have to look at how the company is functioning today. Most of the time, what you'll see, probably about 95% of the time, is that companies are structured as a hierarchy. Now, the future is telling us that that's not going to be the case. So currently, your power and your position within the hierarchical structure is of importance. The future will see knowledge as the currency that we trade with. So we're going to see hubs of knowledge centers within the organization, whereas people will start working on projects, and working on those projects means that there's going to be sort of multi-dimensional career paths. Now, what we see from there is that we're going to see HR is going to streamline all its processes. All those processes will make it easier for the employees in the business, giving them that autonomy, giving them that engagement. Now, by doing that, by streamlining it, by looking at the organizational structure, the initiatives that they put in place end up becoming much more of value, and as a result, they will get buy-in from the business. And more buy-in means more budget for HR.
Okay, when we speak about more budget here, we speak about, I thought if you're streamlining, you're actually going to save a little bit. But, one needs to be creative as well. So you need to do things that will be cost effective for the company as well. And you find that, this is being rather cost effective as well. You need to invest to see the fruits thereof, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. So now one of the biggest problems that HR has is that they can't get extra budget to make the changes that they want. So what we focus a lot on within this program is sort of outsourcing and streamlining processes to cut costs, and with that little pot of gold, they're able to then invest in the initiatives that they want to, in the technology they want to, and then there'll be a steady migration towards the new way that HR is going to work in the future.
I'm just curious. Currently, in any business, depending probably on the size of the business, how many members in your HR department?
It will depend, but the ratio is actually quite shocking. So one of the reasons HR is so compliant and only focuses on policies and procedures is because the number of employees to HR consultant is ridiculous. It's actually pretty unfair to a HR professional in my eyes. So you might have one HR consultant and 40 employees that you are responsible for. And what does that mean? They can only focus on, making sure that needs are met, making sure that the employee, has filled in their performance review, and that the manager, and chasing up and making sure that process has been done. And as a result, they're not really able to make the impact that they should, and they end up losing value as a...
So when we say about HR, the new boss, by the press of a button, do you think it's going to make things much easier?
Not by a press of a button. It will take hard work, but, the HR professionals will walk away with a very clear understanding of where they can make changes, how they can make changes, and why they need to make those changes.
Are there loads of complexity when it comes to HR?
I laugh, yeah. Yes, definitely. There is a lot of complexity because it's not... HR deals with a business need, but it also has to deal with individuals. And dealing with individuals, each individual is unique, each individual has a different perspective, which makes it very complicated.
Okay. When one looks at the workshop that you're going to be hosting, are there still space for any of our listeners to tune currently? Tell us about it, and tell us, the format of your workshop as well.
Okay, so currently we don't have any space. It's actually sold out at the moment.
Look at my face.
I'm sorry, it's disappointing. But we will be running another workshop later in this year, so they can contact Symphonia.
That's the good news.
Yep. So that is really fantastic. So it's great that we're sold out. And the workshop later in the year, we also hope that it will be sold out. I think there's a need for it here in Cape Town. So
okay. Have you been around to other provinces as well with your workshop? Or is Cape Town the first to benefit? No,
Cape Town's the first. They're the lucky ones. But we will be moving up into Johannesburg as well.
Okay. So your strategy that you're using with regards to your workshop, you need to share some information with regards to the workshop itself. Will you be conducting the workshop yourself?
Yes, I will be the one conducting the workshop. I'm also the person who has designed the workshop. So, and it has been tried and it has also been tested. So it's a great workshop. It's had great results. It's had a great impact already. Now, the workshop is designed, it uses already predetermined and also very, very recognized models, but they're just not any kind of model. These models have been adapted so that they deal with, so that they can support the HR professional for the future. Okay. And so it is all very futuristic orientated. So there's the academic support, there's the sort of business support that's been behind these models and how they've worked, and then they're positioned very differently. Okay. And there's certain tweaks made to it as well.
You mentioned academic support, and when we speak about that, I'm sure that if you can design, for those above the educational level, then we can go beyond it as well. So we're looking at the grassroots level, as we said, institutions, learning institutions, to benefit from this as well. And government, are they open to this?
I think government should be open to it. I'm sure they are open to it. I think everybody will be open to it once they see what the impact that it has and that how it can really drive change. And I think also the fact that it's cost-effective solutions for the business and for the companies.
Alexia, this is the beginning, and we often, find that when you start at something, it's a bit slow. Not everybody takes to it very easily. But I'm sure, you've worked yourself a path for the future as well. What do you foresee yourself? This is just basic now, but what do you foresee 5 years from now?
For myself or for HR?
And for HR.
Okay, so from a business perspective, so from Emerging Minds perspective, I really see us having being really supporting organizations of any size and how to change and how to become more futuristic thinking, changing mindsets So we believe on a me, you, us philosophy. So, and that is really based on knowledge sharing. So we drive the knowledge sharing culture. So we look at very much, okay, so what can I do for me? So what can we, Merging Minds, do for you, and you being the me? And then we look at that knowledge that these individuals take and how they can take it back to their teams and share it among their teams. And we give them tips to do that. And then ultimately we have an us philosophy, which is much more bigger, which is very much more team, organizational, team orientated, that really looks at a holistic perspective of sharing that knowledge. So we see ourselves in the future as a body that enables knowledge sharing, a body that drives change, and a body that supports that change within the organization.
Alexia, we're at the most southern tip of Africa, and this is where things are happening currently in the mother city. Do you foresee yourself, I mean, you're probably on the website as well, so are there any queries coming from other countries to want to know more about, the new boss in town?
I've seen
it's
this.
Not just in Cape Town. For now, it's in Cape Town.
Yeah, just for now, it's for Cape Town. The aim is not for it just to be in Cape Town. It's supposed to be an international initiative. And what I am seeing, and what it's really been trending at the moment, is there's been quite a lot of sort of, followers on Twitter and LinkedIn that are coming from America, Australia, the UK, and also parts of Europe, which is fantastic. So now just to get some business from it, hey?
There we go. So if people wish to make more contact with you, visit your website. Give us some information with regards to that.
So they can check out our website, www.mergingminds.co.za, and they can also pop me an email at bookings@mergingminds.co.za, or they can phone me on 078 429 0160.
Alexia, being your first interview, also, you're hosting your very first workshop pretty soon. You said that there will be another workshop still in the course of the year as well. So if people wish to know more, to visit, are you on Twitter? Do you Facebook? Tell us more about it.
Yes,
the social medias.
Yes, I'm on social media as well. So you can follow me on Merging Our Minds on Twitter, and on Facebook. We also have a Merging Minds Facebook page, and also on LinkedIn under Alexia Cox.
Well, we often find that it's the elder persons that's sitting in the HR department. So I'm not laughing at you, the older person, because we know you have all the experience. But with technology, it can only get better, isn't it?
That's true, definitely.
Lisa, thanks so much. All the best.
Thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
bye.